6:32.
Okay.
And at this time, we'll acknowledge and respect the indigenous people within whose traditional lands we're holding the meeting. Adoption of the agenda. Melody?
I'll move the agenda.
Andy?
I'll second it.
Call for the vote.
Call for the vote. Okay. Don't forget this. It's only the same.
Yeah.
Did everyone receive the minutes?
No, so what we're going to do is delay the receipt and approval of the May 6th minutes until the next meeting, or we will do it via email.
Okay, so we'll move them. Okay.
Yeah, so let's, that's
So it'll be
not,
recorded at that one then.
that's correct.
Yeah.
Any business on the community plan?
Before we move into the agenda topics, I just want, well, yeah, that's fine.
Because that's,
Yeah, I'll deal with that right now. Yeah. So basically, staff hasn't advised. I believe the official community plan feedback closed on August 26th. So that was the last time for any feedback on the on the draft OCP. So the next step is going to come back to the board, I believe at the October board meeting, and then the staff will also should be providing us with a public hearing date for the OCP. So basically, I don't know, Zach's not here, and, you know, we've got a whole bunch of, do you know anything about that? About whether or not it's going to be, whether our OCP public hearing date is going to be set at our upcoming board meeting?
You know what? I don't know.
You're not, okay,
No,
so
I
we will see the agenda here that's why we're having this meeting, because this has to happen in order for this application to make the board RAC and Rural Affairs Committee and board agenda. So that's why it has to happen this week. And there's APHC meetings happening across the regional district this week.
Yep.
So update, we'll know here real quick when the public hearing is going to be. Okay, so the next item before we go to 6.1, Chair, if I may.
yeah.
Okay, so we have an item coming up, which is 6.1 Development Variance Permit Application. Daniel Ralph and Kitty Gerard, care of Ben Gordon, and that's Ben, and that's Dan Gerard, correct? Ralph Gerard, not Dan.
Dan Gerard should be on the line.
Ralph, yeah. So what will happen, just want to explain just very quickly where you are and why it's here at this committee. What you have before you right now, you have been invited to come and present to the Area I Advisory Planning and Heritage Commission. The Advisory Planning and Heritage Commission used to be called the Advisory Planning Commission. And basically, it has functioned. Right, how many years have you been on it?
Been there 40 plus.
40 plus years. Andy?
Andy was there ahead of me.
Okay, over 40 years. Kelly, how many years?
25?
25. And this is my,
30, good.
well, it's 30, between on the committee and as regional district director, over 30 years. The commission exists to provide recommendations to the regional district board. And it is an opportunity for applicants such as yourselves to present your application to the APHC, for us to ask any questions that we may have about the application, for staff to provide any input that the APHC should consider, and at the end of the process, the APHC will make a recommendation. Recommendations to the board and they're not binding recommendations, they're just recommendations. It's up to the board ultimately to decide what to do, but the Rural Affairs Committee looks at this application first and then makes another recommendation to the board. And those meetings happen, when are the board dates? It's October, I got it here. Handy dandy guide here. So I believe that the reason for expediting this application is to make the October 16th Rural Affairs Committee meeting and the October 17th board meeting. So what can the commission recommend? The commission, after hearing your presentation, after having their questions answered, I don't have a vote in this as the regional district director. Only the APHC members have a vote on the recommendation. They could recommend not to proceed with this application. That doesn't mean it's dead. It means that the APHC recommendation is not to proceed. Staff will present to the Rural Affairs Committee, and they will make that, they will add this recommendation. The commission could also determine to support the recommendation. And many times the commission has sat and met with applicants, and applicants come in with a certain proposal, and the commission makes suggestions to say, well, you know, we could support this if there's a tweak here or there. So that has happened as well. Actually, we just dealt on one from Pass Creek that the commission recommended and it proceeded, and it was really complex. Or the commission, because this is a variance, could recommend that it go to a public hearing. And that delays the process. If the recommendation is to go to public hearing, it'll delay the approval process until the public hearing is held to allow for feedback. Marcy, there we go. Hey, Marcy. So basically, the commission is here and I'm here. The commissioners are Kelly and Andy and Brian, he's the chair. But we also have 3 advisory members from throughout Area I to assist us with our processes. So they've been working on the official community plan, and they are here to, to ask questions, but they're non-voting members of the APHC. But they also have a voice here to basically ask questions and say their piece. So with that, Chair, I hand it back to you. And if you want to introduce what
We should do that, just go around the table.
well, no, introduce the application.
But are they aware of who everybody is?
Do you want to?
Good.
It's your call.
Quickly, I'm Brian Bevelman, Chair.
I'm Andy Ozero, APC member.
I'm Marcy Scolaya. I know Ben. Lisa Marford, I'm one of the guests.
Commissioner, my name's Kelly Plosnikoff. I live out between, I'm in Area I, out in Shore Acres.
I'm Radine Kuznetsov. I'm a guest for the official community plan for Area.
And I'm Andy Davidoff, the regional district director. So, and this
I'm
is
Laura,
our staff person.
the minute taker.
Laura's here to help us, and it's online now. And could the
Yeah, you know what? It would be good to know who is.
who's on there? And we have 4 people, or is that 3?
It's just one person who I think is the
Phone in
other,
as Dan Gerard.
Dan Gerard,
Dan's
and
on
then the RDCK observer.
And there's RDC servers on there. So could Dan advise if he could hear me okay? Because if he can hear me, we should be good.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, you got to turn your volume up
Well,
on your computer.
computer volume,
Yeah, it's computer volume as well.
I'm on a cell phone.
Yep, keep going.
No, we're
Hear
just,
me now.
It doesn't matter if you're on the phone.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay,
Yeah.
could you, Kelly, could you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, and we could hear you. That's as loud as your computer goes? Yeah, turn it right up, because if he's going to speak.
Turn it down now.
That's as high as it goes.
Perfect. And ours is as high and yours is as high. Perfect. So now we have everyone that is here, and the observer I know you don't tend to acknowledge that you can hear, but you can let staff know if you're having sound issues. We just want to make sure, because anyone can participate in this meeting online, and we do have someone other than the applicant. So with that, I guess we will turn it to you, and who will be presenting the application. Because remember, we have very limited knowledge of what it is that you're planning on doing.
Dan, do you want to start or do you want me to?
Well, I can go ahead. I didn't know we were presenting anything. I thought you guys had questions for me. So I'm building a shop for personal use at my house because I have the whole family living on one piece of property and we need room for our stuff. It is that simple.
Okay. And what is the purpose of the variance? Why do you need a variance?
The overall size is
The overall...
Oh, okay, so who's going to be answering questions?
Go ahead, Dan.
I will answer most questions unless they're technical stuff about the actual measurements and stuff about the shop. Then Ben can answer those. The purpose of the shop is because there's many campers between the whole family, so we need places to put those. So to have the length to put everything under roof, that's the size we need.
Okay, so the report in front of us from staff, and so we'll just read the variance items requested. So this application, development variance permit application, seeks to vary section 1201.8 to permit an accessory building that is 9.7 meters in height, whereas the bylaw states that the maximum height of any accessory building or structure shall not exceed 8 meters. Section 1201.9 to permit an accessory building with a gross floor area of 446 square meters, whereas the bylaw states that the maximum gross floor area of any accessory building or structure shall not exceed 200 square meters. And the third item is under section to vary section 1201.1 to permit an accessory building with a gross floor area of 446 square meters, whereas the bylaw states that the cumulative gross floor area of all accessory buildings or structures on the site shall not exceed 400 square meters. So basically what we have here is an application to build a building that is over height, that is double the size allowed for gross floor area, 446 meters, and it's over the size of the 400 square meters because every structure on the site shall not exceed more than 400 square meters. The property is 0.97 hectares, so basically just over an acre, is that right?
2.5 acres.
Just under 3.
Well, it's 0.97 acres, so just hectares, sorry, it's 2 acres, okay. Basically, just want to go through.
So it's a 40 by 100 foot building.
Yep.
The reason for the variance is because each inspector measures height differently. It should be the average of the roof, but since we're asking for a variance, we're asking for a variance height. The sheer size of it, well, that's clear as day why we're asking for the variance on the size of it. It's because of the overall square footage.
Okay, so the other part of the application is it's not just for storage, it's also for, there's a residential portion to this, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and how large?
That is correct.
is 800 square feet.
So you want an 800 square foot residence that would be sort of in the loft
Yes.
area.
That's 20 by 40.
20 by 40 residence on this site. Okay, so basically the commission is hearing this pretty much for the first time. And the questions that quickly come to mind is, why such a large structure on this site? Like, you're allowed to apply for the variance, but why not stay within the existing rules, and then you don't need to apply for this variance?
Because without the variance, it would be too small and we wouldn't be able to get everything under the roof. The whole point is to get everything that we have under a roof so it's protected. We're protecting investments.
Okay, have you consulted with any neighbors on this?
Absolutely.
Okay, so
I think it's
There's
great.
not,
To be honest, they have a lot of stuff in the yard, and I think it would look good.
Where is it in proximity to your place?
So just past the hall, going towards Leonard's,
Okay.
yeah,
Two lots
Brad
past the
Mason's
hall.
place, yeah, and then they've opened up this side, and yeah, I think it would,
not only would it clean up just the stuff in the yard, we've torn down all the old existing buildings minus one. That's the one last one that we have to put our stuff in because we want to build this shop. We've been cleaning it up since the day we moved in to build this shop, so that way everything can get under a roof. It is that simple.
okay, and just so you understand, the concern that we've had in the past, or the APHC has had in the past, and the board, is that we've seen kind of an influx of these oversized accessory buildings. And now with the change in the residential, like in the BC government rules about having a secondary residence and everything else, we're starting to deal with a lot more challenges because people want to build bigger buildings, and now they want to include the residential. And it does, if everybody did this everywhere, it would really have a huge impact on each community. So
You're right. There'd be a lot more rentals out there, which would solve a lot of problems.
But also it impacts the nature of the community and what it looks like in a lot of places. And we have had applications come before the board where people are trying to squeeze as much as they can onto, smaller. Even in Brilliant here, we've had on smaller lots, we've had applications for big buildings, and some of them have gone through. And the concern the APHC has had in the past was the precedent. So basically, if it's recommended and the board approves something like this, and each one we deal with separately, then what happens is if you're allowed to do it, your neighbor's allowed to do it, the next person's allowed to do it. And that has been a concern that's been raised in the past to say, okay, what does the neighborhood think? What does the community think? So you heard Marcy's perspective.
And I know a few more that have gotten letters that haven't had any concerns.
And that will be part of the file that will go before the Advisory Planning Commission. We also, staff has contacted, referred this to different agencies, and that feedback will be presented at the Rural Affairs Committee meeting. So all of those things will form part of a report, including the APHC recommendation. The APHC has been very careful about approving things that are different, and has recommended that they go to public hearing, because then you get the public has an opportunity to provide their input in a formal process and basically, that's kind of one thing that it's done as well. So I will now turn it to you, Brian. You can ask if any other people have questions.
Anyone have any questions?
Oh, he's got his hand.
I had a question. I have just a comment. The whole thing is the size. Now, I don't know how many of you travel around pulling campers and stuff, fifth wheels. You go into an RV place and you watch them. You figure just looking at the RV place, there's lots of room, there's a ton of room. But when you pull like a 30-foot fifth wheel or a trailer with a truck that, one-ton truck that's fairly long in itself, it takes a lot of room to maneuver that around. And I park my trailer in the front of the yard, and it takes me the road out front, plus the driveway, to get it to maneuver it into the side of the driveway on the graveled section. And that's where it sits the rest of the winter. And when you talk about the size, why do you need size? Well, if you just took that trailer and put it in the corner of this room over there, it would probably take up from the folding things back to the wall. But to get the trailer in there, you need a lot more room to maneuver it. And so when you speak of the size, you have to get that in there. And that takes room. And the wider it is, of course, the higher the roof has to be for snow load, and so we don't have any down the road issues that way.
Like Legos.
Yeah, well, exactly. I just, it's funny. I worked with a welder, and I was an operator in a mill, and I worked with a welder, and he was making guards on a summer breakdown. And myself, I thought, he said, it should take him half an hour to slap this thing together and go put it on. Well, it took him all day. But while I worked with him, because I didn't understand all it took, the geometry of laying it out, cutting it, welding it together, making sure the pins fit properly. And I think that's part of the issue. If you don't understand the whole operation of moving stuff into one area, I think that should be taken into consideration. And that, I'm speaking just to the size of it and the need for
I
that.
see your point, but then there's also the fellow that, and it doesn't affect me, I know the area where you are, but the next door neighbor says, well, I don't want that building. It blocks my view. So from our point of view, we have to look at the whole thing.
Yeah.
And like Andy
Okay,
said,
can I field that question? There's
What's
not
that?
a single neighbor that has a problem with it. They all want it.
well, that's the thing is, that's right now, hearsay. But when it goes up and someone's got to deal with it, maybe the best thing for this group to do is put it to your neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're not responsible, because I don't want you thinking I'm responsible for stopping you building that building. Doesn't affect me.
There's nobody that we could be blocking where it's going. It's in the back of the property.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying, sir.
Yeah.
I'm just saying what we have to look at
Yeah.
overall.
Speaking to that issue, I'm on the Spud Hill Water Association, and Paul Popov. You know him?
Oh, yeah.
You know where he lives?
Paul Verrigan.
Paul Verrigan. Yeah, that's right. And he got a letter, and he came up to me and told me about the letter, right, of the building proposal. And so, when you say neighbor, like Paul and I can't even see each other. The guy directly to the south of us, John, that's no problem. He said, good, yeah. Straight across the street is Tamara and Jeremy. She's all in Caleb. They have no problem. The only person that gets to look at it, really look at it, outside of John, which is going to be right next door to it, and he has no problem with it, is Graham Menzies. And I've talked to him, and he has no problem at all.
So would all these people be willing to sign some sort of a
They may already-
agreement that says that
They may already have done it. See, when we have the planning staff who have worked on this report here, they provide us with that feedback. We have received some letters of support from, all of the immediate neighbors. We don't know that right now, and the staff person here, do you know if there's any feedback?
I mean, I could look in the file, but not right now.
Yeah, so
I got
It
no
would take me
problem
a few
going to
minutes
those
to look
three
through.
immediate neighbors and.
Yeah, but
ask them,
those
but-
three immediate neighbors are not your forever neighbors.
No, they're not.
yeah.
Life changes.
Tomorrow changes
Yep.
every day.
So we're a bit our hands are tied a little bit because those types of questions, planning staff would normally answer them, provide answers to them. So we don't know that, but it looks like there is, and Marcy's one of the people. It looks like that's awesome that you have that support. That goes a long way when it comes to the Rural Affairs Committee. When it comes to the board, they say, okay, what does the neighborhood think about
Yeah,
this?
there's a skate park 2 doors down that didn't get any permits.
Don't get us started on that one.
Right, so there's,
Trust us, we've been through it all.
Yeah, hundreds of
Oh, I
emails.
don't doubt
So we're not gonna comment
I
on
don't
that.
doubt it,
Okay.
but.
We're on camera.
Yeah, so but we do have a couple more questions.
Yep.
So for the, when you have the site plan, that's in the report, there is a new water, so how is the water, is it coming off an existing water license?
Yes.
Okay, so do you have Water Branch's permission to add?
We have, correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, we have a domestic and acre feet.
Okay, so you have a domestic and an irrigation license, and what
And
you're,
there's 2 spigots on the property.
well, it's not
That's
this.
correct.
So are you, because the domestic only provides like 500 gallons a day for one residence.
Yeah.
So is that the license you have?
I don't have that information off.
Remember, irrigation licenses are seasonal.
Yeah.
They only allow for water to be used within a certain period of time and give you access to that water off the creek you're on. So I know I have an irrigation license, so that's how it
I
works. And
didn't understand that.
If we gotta put in a secondary service, then we put a secondary service in.
Okay, but this is creek water?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah,
this is surface water.
It's surface water.
It's not well water.
No.
Okay, so have you contacted Water Branch to see how,
He's on the board.
no, not that one, I'm talking about the provincial,
Provincial
Yeah, but
ministry.
it's that.
yeah. So because you're doing a secondary residence, so and so what they have done in the past, and I don't know if they still do, people have done this for subdivision purpose and other things, is that where they
So
had a
can I speak for a second, because we're wasting a lot of time on this whole water thing. The water is kind of irrelevant if we're unable to get the license to come off the creek. Then I would drill a well. If I'm going to spend $500,000 on a shop, I'm sure I can spend $25,000 to drill a well. The water is irrelevant if the shop doesn't get built. The water will come from wherever we are able to get it from, whether it's a well or whether we're able to get it from the creek.
Yeah, we're not concerned about water to a shop. The question
No,
is,
that's-
you're
you're talking about water.
to this property. So, and you're going to be living or renting that out. And the key thing is that water to another residence is important. So that is something that you need to get
And if
that.
I can't get it from Spud Hill, I will drill a well.
Okay, so water is not confirmed yet.
No.
Not finalized. That's all, that's the question we're asking. The second thing is that you're looking at a new septic field. So that septic field is literally how many feet from the existing field? It's like, here it looks like
Over 50.
it's about 50 feet away?
Over 50.
Okay, so the key thing is, have you had a a specialist or,
Yes.
and you have that sorted out? Because that's a health requirement, right? It's not a regional district requirement. Okay, so that's just just questions looking at the site plan.
Yep.
So because staff isn't here, asking staff technical questions is not going to be possible here. So what'll end up happening is that the APHC is kind of can't ask any more questions here because you can answer them to the best of your ability. So the only thing that we see right now is that you've got to deal with the water issue one way or another if you're going to have a secondary residence. That's you won't be able to utilize that as a secondary residence without the water sorted, right? So,
But that'll be sorted out one way or the other.
yeah, because you're planning on spending a lot of money, and getting that water stuff sorted is a big deal if you're going to have a rental or a place that other people are going to live or family members are going to live, right? And we understand why you're doing it, because while you're building this, you're trying to find a way to pay for it too.
Well, yeah.
which makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And we're going to see more and more of this. We're going to see carriage houses. We're going to see these secondary residences. We're going to see, tiny home thing. We're going to see all kinds of stuff, lane houses. And
I think we're doing something that's not, say, traditional. But usually you have one family, like 2 adult kids in a house. My wife and I and my son went together and did this. And there is people saying, "Oh, it'll never work, it'll never work." Well, we've made it work for 4 years. And
40 or 4?
4 years, yeah.
No, that's
Family
infantile, yes.
yeah.
How big is the existing house?
You know the square footage, Dan?
Of the house?
Yeah.
Not
Yeah,
offhand, no.
I'm just saying,
I want to say
it's big enough that you have
somewhere around 20. If I was to venture a guess, I'd say somewhere around 2,400.
Okay, so it's a large.
Yeah, it affords us a lot of room.
Yeah.
And therefore, there's a lot more toys and stuff. Like you didn't see our garage. We don't have a car in it. Most people don't have a car in their garage. You look at the garage sales, it's full of stuff. and we'd like
We've
to
got
clean
4
that
parking
up.
spots at my place. My truck's outside all the time. So that's not good.
And it just that in our situation, again, back to the size. It's not just one family. It's like 2, and right now my other son is there too. And a granddaughter, yeah. Dan's there week by week. But that again multiplies a lot of your toys and stuff, and the need to put it in.
Well, I got a boy that loves toys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know he's thinking shop too, eh?
Yeah. So I just like to consider that also.
So basically, just give you a last opportunity. Anybody have Andy, you got any more questions? Kelly?
It's not so much a question, but I had a conversation with Sadie regarding this application, and what kind of threw me off was the size of the building itself. And I found it a little bit, from a layperson's point of view, it's stated that it's a 40 by 100 foot building. But when you take a look at the prints, you'll notice that the overhangs are very substantial. So it almost makes it look like it's a 70 by 110 foot building. And when you do a cumulative,
Our parts don't count for gross.
I understand that, but when you look at the underneath the roof area, you're looking at almost 788 square meters. So when we start,
But hold on. We're given measurements to follow and a way to measurement. Now we want to look at a different way of measuring it.
No, that's absolutely right. That's what I said. That's why I brought it up as a layperson. I found it
Yes, it's a big building.
It's a very substantial building,
Yeah.
and it seems to be, it's 420, or 30, or whatever we said, 446, but usable, it becomes significantly greater than that yet again. So it multiplies the size to yet double of that. you know?
So-
Because it's covered storage,
So the building footprint is,
4,000 square feet,
no,
4,500.
the
The actual footprint itself,
the floor space, but when you look at the actual,
whole structure?
what Kelly's talking about, the whole structure, is pushing up into 700 meters when you factor in the carports.
Yes.
Right? So basically, when you look at this thing, it's not a 4,000 square meter 400 square meter building. It's actually, when you look at it, it presents as a 700 square meter building. And the size for an accessory building in the bylaws is 200 square meters. So that is when I looked at the plans as
The
well.
regional district needs to change their word.
Okay, but you're not you're taking measurements out of context now.
No, we're not. We understand that you technically are 400 square meters, and you're doing it exactly the way the wording is contained in the zoning bylaw. So you're still doing something that's double the size of the zoning. So the key thing is that is why you've come here to present and for us to recommend a variance, 3 of them, to make this happen. And so what Kelly's saying is technically you're double the size, but the way the building presents, it's actually.
No, we're not. We're not double the size because that's not how it's measured.
We are almost double the size of the
Yes.
variance. That's why we're asking for a variance.
That's why you're asking for a variance. That's why you're here, because it's not asking for 10% more. It's not, it's you're asking for 100% more, and then the building actually presents as 3.5 times what is allowed. So that's the way it presents because of the design with the two, it's not one carport, it's 2 carports for 2, you can put 2 fifth wheels in here, right? That's the plan.
Yeah.
And not only.
No, we're not going to put. We're going to put like three fifth wheels, a boat. There's a couple motorhomes.
Pass Creek gets a lot of snow.
Yeah, no, I get it. We get it. And so you could see how this is the biggest structure that we have had to address, that the APHC has had to address in all of Area I, the way this is designed.
Somebody's pulled.
You're absolutely right. It's the only one you guys have had to address because we're trying to do it the right way by actually going through the proper steps. Everyone else just does it without going through you guys. And they're built all over Pass Creek.
Yeah, well, the key thing is that that's a complaint-driven process, and when bylaw enforcement gets complaints, they address them. So the key thing is that what Kelly's saying is accurate from a perception, because this thing is the biggest accessory building being proposed in all of Area I that we're aware of.
I don't know how many houses have multi-families, but when you double the size, you also got double the families, if not triple, because of my son there. And like there's like 4 either motorhomes, fifth wheels, trailers, 4 RVs, a 21-foot boat plus trailer. It's a lot more than 21 feet. I've got a trailer, a car hauler trailer. We've all got quads, side by sides.
The camper van.
And the camper van that my son just bought. And everybody's got a pickup.
Or few.
Or 2 vehicles. I mean, if it was just one family and a ATV, a RV, a pickup, a car, you would need something a lot smaller. But that's not what we have. We have multiple of everything.
Yeah, and so.
So that's why the
Yeah,
size,
so
again, you're speaking to
Yeah,
the
you
size.
have a wealth of toys and equipment and things. The zoning bylaws were passed by the community. And the community determined what size of accessory building they would like to see, the maximum size, the maximum height.
And how long ago was that?
The zoning bylaws were passed, the official community plan was passed in 1996. What has happened since then, there have been variations of the zoning. And like I said, we're at the board, we're starting to see more of these. Because now with the government's change in being able to do a secondary residence, we're gonna start seeing a lot more of this, not less. And so the board is looking at all these. It's one thing to have like a 100-acre property in Creston having something like this, or a less than a 1 hectare property having something like this. And then what do we do with, and 2 septic fields? Health likes to see 1 septic system on 1 hectare. That's what they like to see. So here you're gonna have 2. You have not addressed the water issue, which you will be dealing with. So the key thing is that we're just saying, and I mentioned the word precedent. So if this is what the APHC is going to deal with and says, yeah, we support this, that's an option for the APHC. They will do that in front of you here shortly. The other thing is do not support this because it's gotten, you know, we're going like double what the zoning that the community wanted. We're going double that here. And then there's another option, like do not support, or fine, let the community provide its voice, respect the community's voice. If the community comes back and says, hey, we're good with this, then what happens is that for the Rural Affairs Committee and the board, it makes it a lot easier. But we still have, staff does the technical side of this, which we would hear today, but we're not hearing. And that's kind of too bad that we're not, because we usually like to address this. We were called here specifically for this application. So the meeting was set up for this application. So the key thing is that the APHC could also recommend that this goes to a public hearing. And then what happens is that if community voice says, yeah, we're good with this, like you're hearing from one of your neighbors saying, this is good. You've shared, you've got like 4 or 5 other.
The immediate neighbors, yeah.
The immediate neighbors are saying, that's fine. But when there's a public hearing, it's not just your immediate neighbors that provide feedback. Anyone can in the community. And the community is the one that passed the 200 square meter size. And if the community comes out in force and says, we don't want this starting in Pass Creek, the board will also listen to that. So that's all I'm saying. So now we're going to give, if you have anything else to add, we now will ask the APHC for their comments and potential recommendations. So, Brian, where do you want to start? You want Kelly?
Can I say something first? I know rules are important. Don't get me wrong. Rules are important. Rules aren't always followed. There's always an exception to the rule. I started going to school in 1959 in Summerland. And I walked to school. Yeah, it was about a mile, whatever. And I walked through an orchard all the way to the doorstep of the school. Now, do you know when the agricultural land freeze was instituted? What year?
The ALC
ALC?
came in the 70s, mid-70s, yeah.
Go look at Summerland today. Those orchards are all gone.
Yeah.
Every one of them. Look at Kelowna, Orchard Park Mall,
Rutland,
Rutland.
used to be a drive from Rutland to Kelowna.
the CLR is really not what we're speaking of, but I'm speaking to rules. And I'm sure, I mean, like I say, rules are important. But I keep from a lot of just bureaucrats get thrown a rule at me and say, no, 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 when you see that rule being trampled quite often. So I'm just saying, I'm not saying, asking you to trample the rule because of us, but I just feel you're coming down a little heavy on the rule side.
What you're asking for are 3 variances to the existing zoning.
It depends on the inspector for one of them.
Yeah, and that's the technical parts that staff is gonna, in their report, they're gonna
Graham
address.
Gordon, the building inspector,
Yep.
has no issues with this building.
Okay, so this is what will be in the report that will come before the Rural Affairs Committee. So basically, this APHC does not make the decision, but they can recommend not to support it, or to say, let's see what the community has to say. And if the community is supporting it like you're saying they are, then basically that will come back. With, that support then will come back. And there could already be, staff may already have feedback because this was advertised, like you put up the sign and everything, right? So it's been advertised, people know, people have provided their feedback and input. And basically the reason staff wanted, we didn't know about this meeting till Friday. And we got all these people together just for this application over the weekend. And one of the staff people that was putting all this together is on her way to Ontario to a funeral. So that's the commitment and the effort that was made by our staff and all of these people here who are volunteers to hear your application. So we're not here. We're here to hear it. We're given like next to no notice, but we're all here. Okay, so you understand that.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is to make sure it gets on, whatever way it goes, gets on the October Rural Affairs Committee agenda and the board agenda. So that's a pretty big commitment by these people to come here on such short notice just to hear this application. And some people have been doing it for 40 years as volunteers. Okay, so we have assisted many applicants to say, if you change this, it'll make a big difference. And applicants have done that. So, and there's a lot of experience here, collectively, like 40, 80, over 120 years of experience at this table addressing these kinds of applications, all kinds of applications. So just so you're aware, that's why we're here. So we have heard, we've heard what you've had to say. We know what's before us. And so now it's up to the APHC to make a recommendation. And Brian, you conduct this part of it. There are 3 members here that are going to make the recommendation. Eileen, do you have anything to add before they do?
No, actually, I was really happy with your comment to share about your family, because when Marcy made a comment about they have a lot of things, and I was thinking, okay, what's the composition of this family? Like, how many folks are actually living in that house? So I was very happy to hear that.
Lisa, anything to say? Oh, and Marcy, anything else to add?
No, just, I wish, I don't know if you have a picture, it would make it more appealing. I'll even go plant trees.
There are like all kinds, but the plans are like.
No, I
really
think
laid
it would be
out.
great, and Andy, I know the whole precedence
right.
thing and stuff,
They come
so
back, not us. Someone may come back and say everything's okay, but because it's so big, put some trees there, so.
Well, I'm sure he'll do it.
Yeah, Bob-
That's
Bob-
that's the
yeah.
case.
That's the kind of things that get recommended.
So Marcy,
Not to say, no, don't do it.
It's not gonna be a plywood shack either.
No,
It's
it's
gonna be
not.
finished now.
No.
it's a good looking building on paper, right? So, it's,
I've seen his work, he's
okay,
amazing.
Marcy,
Just the whole precedence thing, like, I get it, so I'm on 5 acres.
Yep.
Okay, you're not gonna see a variance from me. Well, yeah, I don't have 500 grand to drop on a shop. I just party in it anyway, Andy, but, you know, but I don't, anyway, I've been there my whole life. I'm 52 and
That's all?
That's
That's all?
all, yeah.
God, just a,
Spring
So you're
chicken.
saying
I thought you were a lot older than that.
No, but,
no, you know,
yeah,
it's, yeah.
they're just down the road. If I need a shop, I can wheel something in. We'll throw the camper van out and,
I think that's Irene's family's property years ago.
that's absolutely
right.
Irene's
Yeah,
family.
that was my wife's family's property.
Yeah.
I know there's 3 or 4 different places I've dug up bricks and then there is cement things in there.
Yeah,
And they're old, you know, there's some history into
A
that
nice
property.
piece.
There was an old Russian village there.
Was there a village?
Oh, yeah. And the
Did
fire
you rent?
department, I was fire chief at that time.
They burned it
We
down.
burned it down. But we burned it from the middle up, right? So
Okay,
it all fell in on
Okay.
itself.
That's fire practice.
Yeah, we burned actually a few of those.
Yeah.
Remember, Andy? Glade
Yeah,
did
yeah,
one?
we had one in Glade too.
And we did that one, you guys used to practice with us. Yeah.
So all your APHC members are all firefighters, active or still active, Brian?
I can't go to fires.
Can't go to fires, but he
He
can help.
fuels the trucks.
Yeah, Kelly's
Nora,
an,
Nora says that we're ambassadors now.
Yeah.
yeah, Kelly's an active firefighter and Andy was a,
No.
was on the Terry's Fire Department. So,
No, my recommendation is I would allow the building go because he needs the building. And like Marcy says, he needs the building to put all his stuff in there.
Yep.
But I would recommend that the commissioner look at it themselves and see what they can come up with. You know,
what do you mean, the commissioners?
well, the people that from the regional district is gonna look at it too.
Yeah, like when we worked with the sawmill, that was
Yeah.
very interesting, we had trees and things.
I have no,
Okay, that went to public hearing that last.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about, or are you talking about? You gotta, someone needs to make some recommendation, then you can discuss it.
My recommendation is, due to numerous, and no disrespect to the rules, it's your family, your character and stuff like that, and it's not in my backyard, but I would really love to hear what your neighbors have to say in the process that we have available to us. So my recommendation is we go to public hearing. That would be my recommendation.
That's actually my recommendation,
well, then I will agree with you guys that will,
because I don't want to be
because
responsible.
you were
for
talking
saying
about
no.
his neighbors are all willing to.
I don't see anything wrong with that.
That's where they would come forward.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
you know,
You can
whether,
have your stuff spewed all over that, or it'd be nice in the
well,
building.
I have no doubt, you know, if your resources are there, that you will make it beautiful. People don't go out of their way to make it ugly.
Close to that.
yeah.
But it is out of character from what we've been given as far as direction that we want how we want our community to look. But that doesn't mean that we have to hold true to that if there's a willingness from the surrounding community.
So Kelly's making a formal motion to recommend to the board that this proceed to public hearing. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so you're making that motion.
I'm making that as a motion.
Are you
I'll second it.
seconding it? And then you guys discuss it? Any
Well-
further?
I have no further discussion. I'm prepared to vote.
And-
No,
Okay, then you guys vote on it.
So I am in favor of this motion to proceed to public hearing.
So is that clear for the minutes then?
Yeah, recommendation made to the board to recommend this application to public hearing,
Proceed to public hearing.
proceed to public hearing.
So I guess if there is a way that we could move that process along a little bit.
Yeah, that's up to staff. They will be.
This is going on 9-10 months now.
Well,
Yeah,
from
so I'm just, now you're hearing the APHC, so now it's gonna go, like, the recommendation will go from
You're
here.
saying October 16th, 17th.
This is
That's another
the,
month.
no, it's 3 weeks from now.
Yeah.
And that's why this is here today, because to make that meeting, it has to be sorted this week in terms of the recommendations. And then what'll happen is that it'll go to the Rural Affairs Committee on the 16th. The Rural Affairs Committee will have this recommendation plus the staff report, and with their recommendation, staff makes a recommendation. And they will also have any feedback from neighbors and things like that will all be included in that report. And then what'll happen is any technical pieces will be in that report. And the Rural Affairs Committee, which consists of all of the directors of the electoral areas, the 11 electoral areas in RDCK, they will debate this, and they will make a recommendation to the board for the 17th meeting, so for the next day. And then the board, 20 board members, will look at any motion or recommendation that comes out of the Rural Affairs Committee. And if that is not to proceed, no further action, it could be to support, it could be to go to public hearing. So that's what the board will decide, and hopefully it'll be done on the 17th. That's the process. Okay, so thank you to the delegation.
I'm sorry that we have to go this way. It's bureaucratic, but and I know you probably would have liked to have heard something a little different, but we're also trying to, it'd be nice to be able to accommodate you, but we have to accommodate the entire neighborhood. And we have to be careful that we aren't overstepping, because we were given one set of instructions.
For sure. So just what if went ahead and built it?
You would, given how much
Red tape.
knowledge there is,
lien on the
you get a
property.
stop work order because you don't have a building
You can
permit.
ignore those.
Pardon?
You can ignore those.
Okay, so
And then you get a lien on the property.
I'm going to caution you now, you're talking about challenging and breaching the rules and the law, the zoning that exists, and you're being, right now, this is public meeting.
I'm asking what if.
Then what would happen is that bylaw enforcement would be dealing with it.
Okay, so you get a stop work order, which tear those off the wall. Potential lien on the property. Don't plan on moving.
They'll fine you through your taxes or something.
Well,
Remember
Brian,
one thing, I'm not
we don't
either.
speculate on that. That's not our role here.
I'm not saying.
All right, well, I'm leaving then. I don't need to be here for the rest of this.
Sorry,
Okay.
sir, that's your attitude. We're just trying to
Oh, I'm just a
protect
contractor.
you
Yeah,
as well as.
I'm just
the
a
people with you.
contractor. I'm not the homeowner, so.
Yep.
I don't need to be here for the rest of this.
Well, as far as regarding to this particular matter, I think our discussions now have been.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah,
We're
that's,
closing our
it's done.
discussion.
we don't,
Yeah.
put it this way, it's,
Too bad.
we try and run a respectful meeting, and what happens is that
Well,
anytime anyone says anything at an open public meeting
I
that is saying that the rules don't apply to them, let's just say that that is on the record now. That we are hearing the contractor saying, I don't need to follow the rules.
Well, that's not what Dan.
That's too-
That's not what Dan and I.
Yeah, but you are,
Yeah.
the applicant here is that person. It's Ben Gordon who's the applicant, not you.
Yeah, he's building it. Dan and I and my wife have the say.
Okay, but all I'm saying to you is the applicant is Daniel, Ralph, and Kitty Gerard, care of Ben Gordon. So bottom line is that the applicant now has told us that the rules.
Well, I wouldn't want to think he told you. He
All
characterized.
he said is he didn't need to be there.
Was that?
Go ahead, Dan.
All he said is he didn't need to be there anymore, and he walked out. Is that not what just happened?
He said he didn't need to be here, but he also intimated that
There was more to it,
there's
sir.
more to it than that, Dan. You know exactly. You heard the same thing we heard. It's not helpful.
But he doesn't speak for he
It's
does
not
not speak for me. The whole reason I'm going through this whole process.
He's frustrated.
Just hold on a sec. The whole reason I'm going through this process is because I want to make sure if I'm building a shop, if I'm going to spend that kind of money, is that it's done right. So his comments do not reflect my shop. And I'm sorry that he said he did that, but that is not my view, or else I would not be on this phone, nor would I have sat around for 10 months waiting for this process to keep going. And I will keep waiting until it runs its full course.
Dan, in the future, it is helpful sometimes for the owner to be the applicant, because
I understand that. I am hardly ever home. I have logging trucks. I work in Cranbrook. That is why I'm on the phone with you guys instead of being there.
yeah, but it just sometimes it's better, even if you go online and present, because exactly what you said right now is that you're the one who's got everything at stake here as the owner, and you're making the huge investment in this. And so the two of you have been incredibly respectful. We appreciate that. And the one thing that none of us appreciate is disrespect, or somebody saying they're going to disrespect the rules, because that is duly noted, or they're talking about an intention to violate them.
And that's fine. It is duly noted, but can we also note that was the contractor and not the owner?
He's the applicant in this application. It's not
I
you that.
understand, but I'm just asking it. Can we note it that he is the contractor and not the owner? Just a simple question.
That's noted as well, and it's also noted that the two of you have been very respectful. We appreciate that. Remember, we came here on 2 days' notice, and to hear somebody speak about flaunting the rules and be disrespectful to this group that's here to move this forward is not appreciated. And I'm going to be really clear about that.
I agree. I wish that wouldn't have happened, but
Okay. So we need to move on. We've got another item on the agenda.
I have no doubt it was an expression of frustration. It might have been a momentary lapse of judgment. I understand your integrity, and I appreciate your integrity. And that's how I will continue to see this application as an application of integrity.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's frustrating because I know we looked at numerous properties, they all had big buildings on it. And two, there was no permit for them.
Pass Creek?
In Pass Creek, yeah.
I can't think of too many buildings that size.
Well,
I've
there's
been
one
fire
on
chief there
the
for 40 years. I know the area.
switchbacks at the bottom. And there's another one.
We get up and go back all the time.
Well, let's go out, have a beer after the meeting, Pass Creek, looking for big shops.
Well, yeah, go for a
that's-
ride tomorrow.
And that's one of the reasons we picked the spot we did. Where else do you go beyond rural, build a building?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, there's no.
My
Is there-
comment
is there-
earlier about the,
Something else out there
Yeah.
past rural?
Yeah.
There isn't.
That's why you got frustrated.
Okay,
because there's buildings that
There's
go-
That's right.
There's a procedural thing that the APHC has made a recommendation, has voted on it, and basically that's the end of
Can
that
you-
item.
Can you read that recommendation?
Yep, staff will.
Yeah. That a recommendation be made to the Regional District Board to proceed to public hearing. Did I get that all right?
In the board's eyes, is that a yay or a nay, or,
That's.
We don't know.
Seeking community input on something that is,
so it's not a no?
it's not a
It's
no.
not.
It's not a no. That's what I gather.
No.
No, not at
I
all.
gather it wasn't a no, but it's
Yeah,
not
there's a-
quite a
I would,
yes.
I would look at it as a plus, actually, because we know we have community support.
And if you have the community support, that's important. Now, staff is also going to be, as I said, at the Rural Affairs Committee, staff is going to be presenting its report.
Yeah.
Staff makes its own recommendation. And we don't know what that recommendation is going to be because we have not seen that report. The staff that's actually working on this file is not here at this meeting to share staff's perspective. So that's why I said we're kind of, because I was told point blank that it won't be one person, but it'll definitely be the second person. And now what's happened is that we don't have either one of those people here
From the regional.
from the regional district. We have staff from regional district who's here to support us with the communications and everything else. But the two people, I've been talking to people on the weekend to get this together.
When you say for technical,
Yeah.
what do you mean by technical? I mean by drafting technical things on a draft?
They're gonna do their report, because they are the ones that have agency contact. They have other, feedback from potential neighbors. Staff will look at that and say that this is such a variation that it's extreme.
But not extreme enough to attend the meeting.
Everyone is away because one is a death in the family.
I can understand that.
One is called away to do, probably on an emergency basis, to go to Crawford Bay today to an APHC meeting. Is that where they went?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Zach. So basically, usually we have the people we need here, and this is the first time in my memory that we don't have the person we need here. But basically,
Would have been nice to have.
I think the APHC's also made a recommendation that Dan said, right? That it's a plus. It's
Yeah.
like if you've got
Oh,
the
yeah.
community support, then
No, I feel good about
this
that.
will, this will be validation.
Yeah.
So you can see what the APHC
Oh, yeah.
does. Yeah. Okay.
But let's be honest. Even if it goes to community, did you call it a community hearing? Is that what you called it?
Public hearing.
Public hearing.
Public hearing. Even if it goes to a public hearing and everyone says, "Yay, let's build a shop," it really doesn't mean anything because it's got to jump through so many different hoops of people that could say no yet. Correct?
Yeah, building permit stuff, the agency, the water thing. If you have a residence, there's still. That's what I mean.
Here's the thing. Like, I'm not going to worry about the water if I'm not building a shop. I'm not going to go spend money on all these different things until I get a yes on the shop.
Yes, exactly.
So I'm not going to look. I'm not even going to look into any of those things and waste a whole bunch of money. I am not the government of BC. I don't waste money. I make sure I spend it properly. So until I get a yay on the shop, I will not be spending any money and just wasting and throwing away money. I am not that rich.
Yep, we appreciate that. Okay, so that's basically all we have in item 6.1. And now we're going to go to public time. So there's public on the line. So does the public have any questions of the APHC?
Hello, public.
Yeah, we're going to ask 3 times. Does the public have any questions of the APHC? And for the 3rd and final time, does the public have any questions for the APHC? Okay, hearing none. So then,
We're gonna schedule the next
and
meeting.
so the public time was at 7:46 or
7:42.
yeah, 7:42. And so then item 8 is the next meeting is not been scheduled yet. So then, Brian, call for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved. Seconded. There we go. Thank you for coming. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming online. I'm glad the technology worked. So,
Yeah, thank you everybody for coming out tonight. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
all right, good.
Bye.
Good luck all the way along.
You have to find the mute message or.
You live on the